Hey friends, welcome back to the channel. Well, winter is well on its way here in Arkansas, and so today we are going to be crafting something near and dear to my heart, a winter apothecary. So today I'm going to share with you how to craft a simple tea blend using the powerhouse herb Mullein, which is perfect for soothing a cough or any sort of respiratory issues that we all seem to get come winter time, or at least in my house specifically. And I'm really just going to walk you through building out your own winter apothecary. You guys can see here, I'm in my office. My apothecary is kind of sprinkled throughout my entire house. I've got things that I grab for in the pantry, things that stay in the kitchen, even things I keep here in my office. So I really just want to encourage you guys that wellness is at your fingertips. You do not have to have this big elaborate apothecary to be able to craft wellness for your family and really nurture them in a holistic approach. So I'm going to share with you guys my herbal checklist. There's going to be a PDF that I leave down in the description below. I'll talk about that here in a second if you're trying to figure out, well, how do I even go about building out my own winter apothecary? All right, so grab your hot cup of tea, or maybe you're into coffee, whatever it is, and let's get started crafting some tea blends, talking through some salves, and just some other holistic things I love to have on hand, especially in the winter time. A winter apothecary is all about being prepared. It's like having your very own toolkit for health and wellness, and it's designed specifically to support your family naturally. So whether it's a soothing tea, maybe for a scratchy throat, or a salve for that winter dry skin, you can create simple remedies that nourish your body this winter. So you have probably seen mullein growing wild along the roadside. It's one of the things I love about this herb is that it's so readily available to forage around so many different parts. But these fuzzy little leaves here offer the ability to create such a comforting, nurturing tea, specifically in the winter time. And then when you can pair this tea with some raw local honey, you're just going to be adding all of those beneficial properties, which are going to boost your immune system. They're going to restore and help kind of calm a sore throat. This is one of my go-tos for my kids all day long. It is just kind of a powerhouse that I feel like not enough people are talking about, but you should definitely be stocking your winter apothecary with it. Mullein is one of my favorite herbs for winter wellness. It's amazing for respiratory health and helping to ease congestion and soothe a cough. It's also gentle enough for the whole family, which I love, making it a staple in our home apothecary. So to make this mullein tea blend, it's actually quite simple. I'm going to give you the recipe to make a pint. You're first going to start with 2 teaspoons of dried mullein leaves. This is great for that respiratory support and soothing inflammation. Then you'll add 1 teaspoon of dried chamomile flowers, which is going to promote relaxation, perfect if you're giving to littles, and then a 1/2 teaspoon of dried peppermint leaves. This also adds refreshing flavor along with aiding in digestive support. And if you're feeling extra fancy, go ahead and throw in 1 teaspoon of dried elderflower for just an additional immune support, and a 1/2 teaspoon of dried licorice root. This also enhances the flavor, but also really supports throat health. Then you're just going to combine all the herbs together in a bowl, mix it well, store it in a jar when you get ready to use it, boil a cup of water, steep it for 5 to 10 minutes, and sweeten with honey. So just some extra additional benefits of mullein tea aside from the respiratory support. Because it does do that, mullein actually acts as a natural expectorant, meaning it helps loosen the mucus in the lungs and it's going to ease congestion. But it has great anti-inflammatory properties, it's immune boosting, it helps with your digestive health, relaxation, and sleep. And it's actually good for skin and wound healing. So make sure you try this mullein tea recipe for your winter apothecary this year. So let's pause for a moment and thank today's video sponsor, which happens to be one of my favorites, Skillshare. You guys know I have been sharing about Skillshare for a while now because I literally utilize this platform every single week. So Skillshare is the largest online platforms for creatives like myself, and maybe even like you. There are thousands of classes led by leading experts in various different fields, from productivity, freelance, blogging, photography. Literally, the list goes on and on. You guys know in the past, I really dove into Skillshare to up my productivity with Notion, to learn how to edit and build scripts out better for YouTube, and I'm currently using it to learn a new skill of food photography. So as I am trying to capture all these scenes for you guys, create beautiful imagery over on Instagram and in our newsletters, I realized I really needed to elevate my hobby of photography into something that was a little higher level, if you will. And so I have taken so many of the food photography classes to figure out how to best capture the content to give you guys the best experience when you're watching our vlogs here on YouTube, or maybe you're diving into our content over on Instagram. So Skillshare can help you take your careers, your hobbies, your passions, even your skills, and really amplify them to the next level. You can dive into whatever learning path is going to suit your needs best. And for me, this honestly changes from a week to week basis. Sometimes I need to know how to edit a thumbnail that's going to grab attention. Right now, I am dialed into food photography, and I'm trying to soak up everything from staging, from capturing to editing in Lightroom. There is a learning path, there is a class for everyone, no matter what your need is. So the first 500 people to use my link right here, which will also be linked down in the description below, will get a free trial for their first month free. So there is nothing stopping you from getting started today. Maybe you have an idea, maybe you have a passion, maybe you have a hobby you just want to refine and dive into a little bit deeper. Now is the perfect time to join the thousands of other creators using this platform to get started today. So thank you, Skillshare, for sponsoring today's video. Now let's hop back into building out your winter apothecary. This video could not be more timely for myself, as we have just kind of passed around that seasonal crud, starting with all of our kids now down to the baby. So this is something that's very relevant for me right now, and I am assuming it's probably relevant to a lot of you all as well. So one of the things is, when you're building out your winter apothecary, something, or even your apothecary in general, something I like to ask myself are, what are the things that my family usually deals with seasonally, and what do I wish I had to combat against that? So for us personally, in the wintertime, we always get this kind of head cold, and usually it settles into our chest where we have this lingering cough. I'm typically always making up a batch of Mullein tea with some sort of peppermint that's going to open us up. The Mullein is obviously really, really good for respiratory support. I also really like to make up a chest salve. While I'm not using that on the babies, myself and my older kids can use this. It is a more holistic alternative to a Vicks or something along that lines, because I know that that's what we're dealing with. It settles, so I'm using that Mullein to really extract it, to really make sure that we're getting it out, and then I'm also just applying that chest rub, which is really just kind of nurturing and helping us. Another thing I'm thinking about is, how do I keep my family well before we ever actually need to dive into some of these holistic remedies? And one of the ways I'm doing that is thinking about those immune boosting, those immune supporting herbs. So for us, we are always making several batches of elderberry syrup, and we are each taking a shot of this a day as a preventative. Elderberry is actually one of those things that's great as a preventative herb versus like maybe echinacea. Echinacea is one of those herbs you don't want to take for a long period of time. It's one of those hot and heavy herbs, right? When you find that onset of illness coming, you want to take it pretty consistently. You want to take it for a short amount of time to knock it out. But elderberry is one of those great things that you can take to really kind of support your immune system to prevent illness from coming. Granted, if we do end up getting the crud, I just kind of double how often we are taking them. So right now we all get a shot in the morning just with breakfast. It's kind of our routine. But if we're all feeling under the weather, I will take elderberry about every 2 hours just to really kind of get things under control. When you're pairing this with that local honey that has all of those great properties as well, it's just kind of a powerhouse I feel like everyone needs in their winter apothecary. Now, something that's also very much needed in the winter apothecary, but not as family friendly, would be fire cider. So you can make up a fire cider kit, which would be great to take a shot when you are dealing with a cold. It's got things like ginger, cayenne, garlic, onion, chili pepper, a lot of things that are really good for antimicrobial, antiviral properties. However, I found that this is not a kid-friendly thing, or at least not for my kids anyways. So I do always make up a batch of fire cider just because I know my husband and I will take it. And it's one of those things that it works really well for us, and it works very quickly and effectively. So I do go ahead and make this up, but for the immune boosting herbs, definitely elderberry should be one of your go-tos. And another thing I'm thinking about is soothing my skin. I don't know if you guys are anything like me, but my skin and my kids' skins dry out so quickly in the wintertime, from cracked dry hands to cracked dry legs. I'm constantly washing my hands in the kitchen as I'm cooking. And so I always like to have a calendula salve on hand, or this is even a healing salve. So it's got calendula, lavender, sage, frankincense, comfrey, chamomile, St. John's wort, and yarrow, mixed with some beeswax and some different essential oils. So this is just a good all-purpose, but if you're dealing with any sort of skin irritants and you deal with some of the skin things that come as that winter weather comes, make a calendula salve. It is just very simple. You're gonna have your beeswax and your calendula, but it's gonna be a powerhouse when it comes to rejuvenating and soothing those skin irritants that you might deal with in the wintertime. So to help you guys get started, I know if you are looking at creating your home apothecary, you might be a little overwhelmed with what you need. Do I need jars? Do I need funnels? Do I need herbs? Do I need this, that, or the other? So to make this so simple for you guys, I've created a home apothecary checklist. You can find this down in the description below. You can download it, you can print it off, you can bind it up, keep it in your kitchen, keep it in your pantry, wherever you plan on having things. And you can gradually start adding to your home apothecary without feeling overwhelmed. I will say, my home apothecary definitely did not happen overnight. This has been a decade in the making. I have gradually been buying supplies, thrifting supplies, figuring out the best places to source from, etc. So do not feel like you have to do it all. Ask yourself, sit down with a pen or piece of paper. What are those common winter ailments that always seem to kick our family in the rear each year? Write those down and figure out how you can address those. When spring comes around, maybe you're dealing with spring allergies, figure out what is the ailment, how are you trying to holistically treat it, and buy the supplies for those specific things within the season. It's gonna not make this process overwhelming or daunting. It's just short, actionable steps on how you can start building out your winter apothecary. Now, you know I could not close out episode 3 of the Savoring the Season series without challenging you all to something. So this week's challenge is to say yes to creating this simple Mullein tea blend for your own home apothecary. It's a simple recipe that's super effective. It's going to give you an easy win where you can start supporting your family's health naturally this winter season. And don't forget, you guys, do not get overwhelmed. What's that one actionable thing that you can do or make today that is going to improve the health and the longevity of your family in a holistic approach? If it's making this Mullein tea blend, make the Mullein tea blend. If it's making up a quick batch of elderberry syrup, make up a quick batch of elderberry syrup. Maybe if you have calendula or chamomile or comfrey or some sort of soothing herb and you have some beeswax, and you make up a simple salve. Call that a win. No one built Rome overnight, right? We hear that saying time and time again, but it's so true. Rome was not built overnight, and neither are your winter apothecaries. Neither is your journey to health and wellness. It's an ever-evolving series. It's an ever-evolving thing that we are learning each day and gradually building upon. And when you know better, you do better. And so my hope is with sharing with you guys some of the things that are in my winter apothecary, it sparks your creativity and your interest to start creating your own winter apothecary. Thanks for joining me today, friends. Let's keep our families well and thriving this winter. And don't forget, check back in next week because episode 4 of Savoring the Seasons is going to be a good one. We are chatting through winter wellness recipes, how we can cook nourishing foods from scratch that can heal our body within. So trust me, it's going to be a good one. See you next week.